welcome to the Center for Research and Security Studies with another episode of the Think Tank Talk. This episode will focus on what is playing out in the Palestinian territories. Hamas, which had ruled the Gaza Strip for quite some time, has been in the eye of the storm since its October 7 military incursion into the Israeli territory. It triggered not only one of the longest conflicts in the Palestinian territories, but has also unleashed a debate as to why the Palestinian organization mounted an attack that was bound to attract a furious Israeli reaction. Now, the question everybody is asking or speculating is as to who may have baited Hamas into this adventure. This is a big controversy raging right now as Hamas has taken quite a battering with the resulting in also displacement of tens of thousands of people from the Gaza Strip. Now, lots of talk also centers on the possible role of the Iranian government in these operations. But the big question is whether such operations or such support for Hamas's actions really help the Iranian government, the state of Iran as such, and its purported proxy Hamas. How beneficial has been this entire episode, which has now basically seen the demolition of large network of that was being run by the Hamas or that belonged to the Hamas government. Professor Zafar Nawaz Jaspal of the Quaid Azam University in Islamabad believes Hamas may be a tactical partner of the Iranian government or the state of Iran, but it carries no strategic value for Iran.
My understanding is that the Hamas was in a conflict with those groups in Middle East, especially in its neighborhood like Hezbollah earlier, which was entirely supported, built by the Iran. Second, which was this Assad regime, it was against it. And the third is Hamas is very close philosophically and that with the Muslim Brotherhood, which does not suit to the Iranian interest. So that was my first point. And if you recall that in the beginning, the Israelis tried to establish a link between the Hamas and this Iran. But at that time, American intelligence agencies reported that though they trained them, supported them, but they were not part of this 7th October. So by this way, these are the main reasons due to which I think that Hamas is not, tactically of course, it's bleeding Israel, it's making Israel, you can say, everywhere in the world. The voices are against Israel and it will be going to have long time impact on Israel's reputation, but on the other side in realpolitik who focus on the reputation.
I also asked Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal as to what does he think does the Ukraine as well as the latest Gaza conflict mean for the role of the United States in the greater Asia region? Is the Gaza conflict a big distraction from the stalemated Ukraine conflict, and how has the US influence played out in the last year or so?
My understanding is that the Ukrainian conflict strengthened America's presence once again in the Europe, bring all the Europeans under the American umbrella, which was loosened earlier, like there was a pipeline, Germany took the independent decision to make this pipeline. There was Germany and French were talking about, there were movements like pan-Europeanism. Now all have been shelved and everyone is there. So Americans gained, NATO gained, and NATO has been expanded. So NATO, you can say NATO's survival is there. And in the way, if you see, after this conflict, first time NATO last year included in its policy paper, defense policy paper, which was, I think, in July they released in that 2022. In that, they very much given China as a threat, systematic threat. And they talked about recent NATO summit. They talked about this Asian like Quad or these AUKUS as a suitable or an extension of the NATO and useful for the NATO. So within the Europe, Ukrainians strengthen the presence or legitimize the presence of the alliance led by the America in the Europe. Now in the Gaza, I think that generally when there was Asia pivot strategy, they were too much on the Asia Pacific. But then we have seen that they were moving out of it, and when there was a Chinese brokered this peace between the Saudi Arabia and Iran, American writers wrote that the America has been thrown out of the Middle East. But now Americans are back. Yes, Americans were there with the I2U2 alliance, and that's the reason that Israelis have been openly supported by the Indians in this conflict, and Israel and India as a defense partnership. And India is the main. If you see in 2009, Robert Gate at the Shangri-La Dialogue said India is a net security provider, and now they are making India the net security provider in the Indian Ocean. So it means that through India, through its local alliance, Americans are back in the Middle East as well. And that is my reason that Americans gained.
Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal focuses also on the Indian Ocean, on China, on India. And that's why I asked him as to what about the current nature of the Indo-US relationship? How has it panned out in the last few years? And would he say that the US has outsourced its security strategy in the region, basically to India, that is the Indian Ocean, as well as the Greater Asia region, which includes both India as well as China and the extended neighborhood?
I think in this region they are outsourcing because if you see, Americans have always their aircraft carriers everywhere, but they are also having their local Leviathans. This is the local Leviathan policy which emerged, or you find after the New World Order statement, and then they start looking at where we have. And in our region, it's another way how much India will play. India is very much autonomous in its strategic policy making. That's why, if you recall, in the beginning of this year, Indians were lobbying for NATO Plus. American Congress passed in favor of India to become a NATO Plus. And next month, the Indian Foreign Minister said that we are not prepared for that because becoming a part of NATO Plus, you are becoming an alliance. They say, okay, we are still partners. So India is very important in this context.